Insidious is currently on Max. Does not have audio description. It stars Patrick Wilson, Rose Byrne, Lynn Shay, Ty Simpkins, and Lee Whannell, who also wrote, and James Wan, who also directed. And basically, Insidious: The Red Door dropped on Netflix, and it does have audio description. And I've never seen a damn film in this franchise. And I was like, that's weird to just jump in to film number 5 with no prior knowledge of anything that's ever happened in this universe. I wonder, what are these other films like? Well, I would say unwatchable. That's where my grade's going to be, but we'll talk about why. Has nothing to do with the actual quality of the film, although I do have some thoughts. So, this is a reminder that I am a blind film critic. So if you're a huge fan of Insidious, I too like James Wan. I gave The Conjuring a really high grade, and The Conjuring 2 a pretty high grade. It's The Conjuring 3 I don't like, and The Conjuring 3 is the one that he didn't direct. So there you go. I also think Furious 7 is one of the better films in that franchise. I liked Aquaman. I think the first Saw was... there's a reason why we have 10 of them, and it's because of his direction and Lee Whannell's script. So, yeah, I think he's a solid director. I don't think this is anything. From what I can tell, it's really hard to praise this as a a winner for James Wan's directorial style. Having seen a lot of his previous things, also like Dead Silence, which is, if we're being honest, it's it's not great, but it's also, I don't think it's terrible. I think some people think it's terrible. I don't think it was terrible. But no, I don't think there's anybody out there that's like, Dead Silence is the best movie I've ever seen. What are you talking about? That puppet movie, the most terrifying experience. Anyway, this stars a family headed by Wilson and Byrne, who have a child that's in a coma, and but they keep being haunted by weird shit, and they're not really sure what's going on until they hire an expert played by Lynn Shay, who's phenomenal in this film, by the way. I always think of her from There's Something About Mary, and it's funny to think of her in these types of roles where she's playing it serious and straight, and I thought she was great. And there's so they have to try to get their son out of the realm. It deals with like astral projection. Their son apparently has the ability to astral project, and at night when he used to sleep, he would astral project himself, but then he went too far, and he went into the, I don't know, the something, the found, the far, the whatever it's called, something stupid. Just basically he went too far, and now his astral self is trapped in like hell, basically, with tortured demons, and because his body is empty, it's an empty vessel, demons are swarming it, trying to hopefully eventually get in one day. I never saw Insidious. 2010 was when it came out. Yeah, I could see. I just wasn't really interested in it. I don't really get interested in these haunted house type movies that are designed just solely for the purpose of jump scares. I like a good horror movie. I like a great horror movie with a great plot. This didn't seem like that was what it was. It just seemed like we were in a period where we were getting really into these haunted house / demonic possession time period, of which The Conjuring was also, which I've come to appreciate The Conjuring, because The Conjuring holds its scares for quite a while. Insidious doesn't really do that. It's got some pretty famous shots taken from it that are readily available on the internet. There's that one Darth Maul looking dude. That's the best way to describe him. Um, that, the demon that suddenly, like, the camera pans and, oh, there's somebody behind Patrick Wilson. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of got the gist and the vibe of what Insidious wanted to be from watching the trailer. It did have a dope trailer, though. It took Tiptoe Through the Tulips, which it does use in the movie, and used it to effective, creepy fashion. So I remember the trailer. And the fact that I remember a trailer for a 2010 film I didn't see just goes to show you how well James Wan cut that trailer. Now, as far as his direction here, it is really hard for me to discuss this film because it doesn't have audio description. Either because people hate us, hate blind people, I don't know, or Max is lazy. I never really know what the answers to these questions are. I don't have like a representative at Max that I can call and be like, so what's up with Insidious? Are you guys lazy, or does this film just not have audio description anywhere? Or we just not created it? Like, what's up? 2010 strikes me as being late enough that I'm pretty certain we had audio description because we had digital film projectors in 2010. So I'm going to go with lazy. But who knows? It's a very silent movie for most of it. And that's why I think James Wan's direction here is a little bit overrated. It's really easy to rely on your... I don't even really want to call this a film score. I don't want to shaft the composer because somebody worked on some kind of music for this, and I don't want to... But I also don't want to, like... I don't want to confuse violin tremolo with an actual film score. Just because you've got somebody who can do some dope shit on a violin doesn't necessarily mean you wrote a film score. I mean, I don't think there's a world where anybody goes, I just popped in that soundtrack to Star Wars. Now it's time to listen to that Insidious soundtrack because that sounds really good. I just don't think anybody does that. I listen to most of this doesn't have... It's silent for long portions where there's nothing. And then Juan uses sound as his way to scare people. He's got the typical builds and loud noises, which is exactly what horror films... It's a trope that horror films are falling more and more into nowadays, instead of relying heavily on an actual plot and script and cast. You can do pretty much anything with the right sound design. You could turn any movie scary. I believe any director with the right sound design could make any film scary. So, pick a Disney movie and then hand it over to somebody who can take the score out of it and replace it with, like, it's like, I mean, like, a loud noise out of nowhere is gonna startle anybody. Is it a good scare, though? Did the audience leave with, like, that, like, oh, wow, that movie, I'm not gonna sleep well tonight? Or did you startle them? Because there's a difference. And I think we have blurred the line between startling and scaring, or startling and terrifying, or startling and intriguing, anything like that. And this score is very reminiscent of that. It's also a bitch to follow, to help with the film. It took forever for this film to get rolling. It must have the longest credits in the world, because before I ever heard anybody speak, I think like 5 minutes had passed, and it was just like the opening score. There's another film that was like that too, where it just opened and it didn't have audio description, but it just played forever, and I was like, is this film ever going to start? Like, what is happening here? It had like the longest opening credit sequence. but it was kind of an artistic film that took it took the credits of the film and put them before, so you had to watch the credits and then the film started. So they explained that, and I don't know why this took so long to really get going before anybody does anything in this film, but um, it takes a while before you hear a voice. And then also the film kind of ends in a weird way too, where it doesn't really feel like it ended. I didn't actually know the film was over due to lack of audio description until Max tried to put me into another title. And then I was like, oh, I guess the film ended, because the film has this weird thing where it just, like, the score just kind of stops. So you can't just, you know, his weird use of score doesn't really help you with anything. And it's not like the film doesn't have like a play out score. It's just this weird designed for string ensemble score. It's just a little orchestral thing that somebody wrote, where it feels more like it's sound effects almost than it is an actual score. It doesn't fill, it doesn't build. There's no theme here. There's nobody who remembers sections to this score, and they're like sitting there and they're like humming it or anything. It's just there to highlight what I would call startle moments. You know, those, or we call jump scares. Which, are they actually scary? Did you earn it? Are they earned? And a lot of directors are guilty of this too. I think M. Night Shyamalan does a really good job of actually fleshing out characters and story, but even he likes a good shitty jump scare from time to time. Signs is a great example of shitty jump scares, all mixed with fantastically earned jump scares, where the camera pans at just the right time, and it's actually relevant to the plot, and it's something that's built and earned. Or you look across the field and suddenly there's the alien, or that alien walks by on the camera, but you know that that's what you're waiting for, right? It's the camera footage. They tell you in advance that something, you saw something in Mexico. So but then he also has a dog that just jumps up at the camera for no apparent reason whatsoever, and it has no relevance or bearing to anything in that scene or the plot. It's just a loud dog that jumps up in your face for no reason whatsoever. So even Shyamalan, one of the strongest directors who avoids cheap jump scares for the most part, still uses them. It's just how heavily are you using them? And then when you craft your entire sound design to make it seem like you didn't want an actual score, you just wanted sound effects, then I have a problem, because then that feels just really lazy. It feels like there's nothing here. There's nothing substantial here. So I don't feel like I missed much, but I feel like I missed a lot because of the lack of audio description. I don't know really what's scaring these. I mean, I've seen images of some of the things from Insidious, and I know what they look like. But taken out of context, I don't know where those scenes fit in the movie. I don't know where they were. But I have seen stills online, what I could see of those kind of things. So, yeah, I mean, some of those are effective, creepy designs. But is it just like a face? Like I remember I walked out of, I walked out of Drag Me to Hell. The unnecessary jump scares. There are literal jump scares in Drag Me to Hell, as if it was like a YouTube video. You remember when those like faces you'd be watching a video and suddenly there'd just be that like exorcist girl face thrown at you? Basically, Drag Me to Hell does that in cinematic form, and I'm like, no. Plot, fine. I'm here. I'll do plot and story all you want. I was kind of digging the film too, and it was just obnoxious. The random screaming faces and stuff was just. I was like, no, I'm not doing this. So I left. I walked out. It's cheap. It doesn't do anything. It's not good filmmaking. everybody always, we look back to our early influences, and whether your earliest influence is Hitchcock or maybe somebody a little bit different, maybe it's like Vincent Price, you know, maybe it's maybe you liked those films back in the day, the castle, the films that spawned the Dark Castle reboots. Um, Whatever it is, uh, we just, they had more substance to them, and they relied on, you know, the story and the plot, and the directors actually had to direct. Now you just throw something crazy and loud at your audience randomly all of a sudden, and there's no build up. You know, there's just, the only build up that happens is in the sound. So I don't know. I'm really jazzed about that. I think there are a lot of great horror films out there nowadays, and I think where horror is moving and how it's manipulating and how it's sort of blending into other genres, how we get sort of like quasi horror in films like The Menu. Um, I think that's interesting. But this just doesn't really do anything for me. But it doesn't have audio description, so I can't really give it an actual grade, which is why I give it unwatchable. It's not actually a reflection of how I feel about the film, although I wasn't impressed, and I had a feeling of what I was probably missing, but I hate that. I hate the directors, this new thing of where we drop out the sound and then we come back in with loud noises. It's just, it's really lazy. And you know, whatever. But to each his own. I'm sure somebody out there is like, Insidious is the scariest thing I've ever seen. Watch more movies. Jaws is scary. You know what? That's the thing about great scores, is that they're memorable and they can enhance a film. If you think about the score to Jaws, how iconic it is, and how, when used properly, they still got their scares in. Jaws actually affected tourism. Like, people didn't want to go in the water. Halloween. John Carpenter's score to Halloween is so iconic and effective, and it really actually enhances the film. And it doesn't do it in a way where he has to scare you with loud noises all the time. He has a really effective score. So if you do something, The Exorcist has a memorable score. Insidious does not. I challenge anybody who's seen Insidious right now to hum the Insidious theme. Can you? Do you remember what it sounds like? No, but I bet you remember what Jaws, The Exorcist, and Halloween sound like. And that's my point. So, my grade for Insidious is unwatchable. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I do intend on watching Insidious The Red Door. I don't know if I'm going to watch 2, 3, and 4, since I can't seem to find any of the sequels with audio description anywhere. So, I don't know if I want to watch 4 of these without audio description. We may just go straight to The Red Door. At least I got like a vibe of the setup from the first film, but we'll see. In the meantime, you can follow me by going to my website, macmovieguyy.com. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what is audio description, where you can watch it. You can go to the ADNA.org, that's the ADNA.org, and it'll let you know who's narrating your favorite films and television series. And you can follow me on X, Threads, or Instagram at macmovieguyy. That's it for me today. I will review something else and see you guys on the other side.